With the massive influx of remakes and remasters flooding the market, from Resident Evil and Silent Hill to Dead Space, Lollipop Chainsaw, and even The Thing, you've got to wonder, how do studios decide which games get the resurrection treatment and which are left to rot in the dusty catacombs of gaming history? There's no official checklist, but the patterns are obvious: nostalgia, value, cult following, technical feasibility, and projected sales potential. But here's the thing. We're going to run out of obvious candidates. The big names, the safe bets, will eventually all be exhausted, and then the industry will have to look deeper into the archives. And like I've said before, the best remakes aren't the ones that simply polish up beloved classics. They're the ones that give a second chance to games that either need redemption due to rough launches or flawed execution, were trapped on redundant or dying systems that limited their audience, floundered due to competition overshadowed by bigger brands at the time, and that's where today's pick comes in. A game that checks all three boxes and then some. Welcome to the Snake Pit, where we're full of bile and venom. I'm your host, Snake Damon, and today we're slithering through the dark corridors of one of the most overlooked horror gems of the early 2000s. Midway's The Suffering. Released in 2004 for PlayStation 2, Xbox and PC, The Suffering was developed by Surreal Software, with creature design assisted by none other than Stan Winston Studios. Yes, that Stan Winston. The man who brought us Pumpkinhead, the Predator, and the Xenomorph Queen had his fingerprints all over the game's grotesque monstrosities, and, well, it really shows. You play as Torque, a silent prisoner on death row for murdering his wife and 2 children, a crime he has no memory of committing. Before he can even settle into his cell, an earthquake rocks Abbott State Penitentiary, unleashing a flood of supernatural horrors drawn from the island's grim history. These aren't your run-of-the-mill zombies. Each creature embodies a different execution method or atrocity from Carnate Island's past. From lethal injection mainliners to decapitation slayers to the burnt witch in furnace, every enemy design feels like a slice of morbid folklore. The game balanced first and third person perspectives, had a morality system that influenced the ending. And get this, let you temporarily transform into a hulking monster when your insanity meter filled. Depending on your choices, Torque's story would resolve in one of 3 ways, revealing whether he was truly guilty, a victim of circumstance, or, somewhere in between. This is exactly the kind of game the remake era should be reviving. It was ahead of its time in tone and design, blending action horror with psychological themes before that was a mainstream trend. Its creature designs are timeless thanks to Stan Winston, meaning they'd only get more nightmarish in modern graphics. Its morality system could be expanded into something deeper and more reactive with today's tech, making each playthrough more unique. It's trapped in an era of obsolete hardware. Yeah, sure, it's on GOG now, but honestly, it's begging for a full visual and mechanical overhaul to reach a modern audience. It had a sequel that didn't get the love it deserved, so a revival could, actually give the series another shot at building a fan base. Right now, studios keep playing it safe, remaking games that don't need saving, like Resident Evil 4, which was The Suffering's direct competition at the time. But The Suffering is just sitting there, screaming to be let out of its cell. The Suffering didn't shy away from violence. The prison halls are drenched in blood, enemies tear each other apart, and the NPC dialogue is exactly what you'd expect from a high-security facility under siege. Profanity, panic, and a bit of gallows humor. The silence of Torque as a protagonist actually works here. It makes him feel more like a cipher for the player's own morality, and his physical reactions sort of fill in the blanks his voice would have. Combat is fast, visceral, and brutal. You're armed with everything from a shiv to a Tommy gun to, well, an improvised flamethrower, grenades and explosives, sure, though on harder modes they're more for show than utility. And while it's technically an action horror game rather than pure survival horror, the oppressive atmosphere, Flickering lights, distorted PA announcements, spectral whispers, hits just as hard as a Silent Hill fog bank. And the monsters still hold up. The execution-themed designs make each encounter feel symbolic, not just scary. Seeing a nooseman drop from the ceiling or a burrower rip through the floor is enough to make you pause before stepping forward. Honestly, there wasn't much reason to own the original Xbox unless you were already a fan of certain exclusives. For me, it was Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But as a horror fan, the suffering was unavoidable. The Stan Winston designs took me right back to my first watch of Pumpkinhead, and it's baffling to me that this hasn't been picked for a remake already. If EA can keep Dead Space alive and Capcom can keep milking Resident Evil, then Warner Brothers, who now own the rights, can absolutely dust off the suffering. And while they're at it, maybe Everything's Awful can give us a new Alice or let Dante finally conquer the Inferno. Until then, The Suffering remains one of the best horror action games you might have missed, and one of the most deserving of a second life. Thanks for dropping by the Snake Pit, where we thrive on untapped potential and lost opportunities. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell like the video, and leave your opinions in the comment, where naturally I won't read them. Until next time, stay venomous.